Okay, so Hare Krishna. Let's begin with the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So everyone, Kamal Prabhu, Anil Prabhu, Anuradha Mataji, Arvind Prabhu, Bhakti Devi, Ian Prabhu, Kiran Kohli Mataji, Madha Kumar Prabhu, Manjula Mataji, Meena Mataji, Padma Mataji, and Philip Prabhu so far. So thank you all for joining. We have been discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. It's an overview of Srimad Bhagavatam. And wherein we are just giving the summary of each chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam in just one session. And we are in third canto now. We have completed up to third canto, 9th chapter. Today we will be discussing the 10th chapter of the third canto. And in this canto, it is the mainly discussion between Vidura and Maitreya. Between the two great souls, this discussion is taking place, and it's a huge canto. There are several things that have been described in this chapter. I was reading the other day, rather hearing actually. It is said that when the gold is found in its natural state as an ore, there are a lot of impurities in that gold. Because of that impurities, gold doesn't look like gold. It loses its luster. And so to get rid of the impurities of the gold, one has to heat it up, melt. By that process, the impurities are taken away. And then you get the pure gold. So it's the third canto, 10th chapter. We will be sharing the screen. So no problem. I'm just giving an analogy of gold. To purify the gold, we have to heat it up, melt it up, and there is a process that is required. Then it becomes pure and it shines and it looks brilliant yellow. Similarly, we are also like that of gold, but unfortunately there are so much contamination in us. And if we get rid of that contamination, that impurities or unwanted things from us, then we become pure. And the process to purify the gold is heat. We have to heat it and melt it up. And also the process to get rid of all the impurities in us is hear about Krishna, read about Krishna, when we hear or read about Krishna, or perform any sort of devotional activities, and then those impurities will start to disappear. So that's I like the analogy I thought I would share. In the previous chapter, we have seen that Lord Brahma, after having the vision of the Lord, initially, even though, let me give a little, yes. So this whole universe is empty initially. So Lord entered, and Lord then filled off of the universe with his own perspiration, and then lies down on the bed of Ananta Shesha. And from his navel lake, there is a lotus comes out of it. On top of the lotus, Lord Brahma takes birth. Lord Brahma then he wanted to find out the source of his creation. And then so Lord Brahma, to find out the source, entered into the channel of that stem and came down to the ocean, which is called Garbhodaka, where Mahavishnu was lying on the serpent bed. But he could not see, he could not trace out the Lord, he could not have the vision of the Lord. Then he went back to the lotus, on the top of the lotus. Then he underwent austerity or penance. He performed devotional service for 100 years. After that, you could see, after that meditation for 100 years, he could see the Lord, Lord Mahavishnu, sitting on the top of the lotus itself. And after having the beautiful vision of the Lord, then he offered wonderful prayers. And in those prayers, his request was that, please empower me to do the service necessary. His service is to do the secondary creation. The ingredients were given by the Lord, that is primary creation, and his service was to do the necessary secondary creation. We will see that in this chapter. So he is asking the Lord, please empower me. And second thing, he says that please protect me from false ego. When I create things, I may become puffed up, thinking that I am the doer. So Lord, please protect me from my false ego. I know that I am only the instrument. And thirdly, he says to Lord Mahavishnu that please also protect me from the deviation. That means he's requesting that, oh my Lord, please bless me so that I will always adhere to the Vedas, Vedic principles. Empower me, protect me from false ego, and also protect me from the deviation from the Vedas or authority. So that, and then after Lord blessed him, Lord blessed Lord Brahma, and then he disappeared. And then we move on to today's chapter, which I will share now. It's chapter 10 of third canto, divisions of creation, divisions of the creation. So, Madhav Kumar Prabhu, could we ask someone to read the text 1 to 9, please?
Yeah, Prabhu, we can start from the bottom today. So perhaps we can ask Philip Ramlal Prabhu if he's happy to read. And then after that, Padma Shivakumar Mataji could be ready to read.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Divisions of the Creation, Chapter 10, Text 1. Sri Vidura said, O great sage, please let me know how Brahma, the grandfather of the planetary inhabitants, created the bodies of the living entities from his own body and mind after the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 2. The greatly learned one, kindly eradicate all my doubts and let me know of all that I have inquired from you from the beginning to the end. Text 3. Sutta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, the great sage Maitreya Muni, thus hearing from Vidura, felt very much enlivened. Everything was in his heart, and thus he began to reply to the questions one after another. Text 4. The greatly learned sage Maitreya said, O Vidura, Brahma thus engaged himself in penances for 100 celestial years, as advised by the personality of Godhead, and applied himself in devotional service to the Lord. Text 5. Thereafter, Brahma saw that both the lotus on which he was situated and the water on which the lotus was growing were trembling due to a strong, violent wind. Text 6. Long penance and transcendental knowledge of self-realization had matured Brahma in practical knowledge, and thus he drank the wind completely along with the water. Text 7. Thereafter he saw that the lotus on which he was situated was spread throughout the universe, and he contemplated how to create all the planets which were previously merged in that very same lotus. Text 8. Thus engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Brahma entered into the world of the lotus, and as it spread all over the universe, he divided it into 3 divisions of worlds, and later into 14 divisions. Text 9. Lord Brahma is the most exalted personality in the universe because of his causeless devotional service unto the Lord in mature transcendental knowledge. He therefore created all the 14 planetary divisions for inhabitation by different types of living entities. Text 10.
That's
Vidura.
fine, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Haribol, Hare Krishna. Okay. So Kamal Prabhu, I hope you found the chapter. It's Canto 3, Chapter 10. I've also shared the screen earlier on. I hope you found it. So this chapter basically is a continuation from the previous chapter.
Oh, sorry, I haven't found actually. Is it the right volume?
Yeah, that's the volume. But yes, that's the volume, right volume, and it's chapter 10.
Okay.
Yeah. So here, so we are reading the discussion between Vidura and Maitreya. And so Vidura immediately asked a question like, how did Lord Brahma so created various living entities from his own body and mind after the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So Brahma's job is to create within the universe, which is called Visarga, secondary creation. So that was the question, basically asking about the creation. How did Brahma create within the universe? And so we will see in next few chapters, are dedicated to the creation of Brahma. Brahma does this. Brahma created these many living entities, these type of living entities like that. So we will hear so many of those. And he says that, please, kindly eradicate all my doubts. So that was the question, like by Vidura, and it's a small purport. Like when we have questions, we should approach the right person. So that, say for example, if I have a problem with my car, I don't go to a doctor. I'll take the car to a garage. Similarly, if I have some problem with my health, then I go to a doctor. And similarly, if you have doubts relating to the spirituality and wants to know more about this creation, etc., then we must approach the right person. So that's very, very important. So the purport, I'll read it out. Vidura asked all relevant questions of Maitreya because he knew well that Maitreya was the right person to reply to all the points of his inquiries. One must be confident about the qualification of his teacher. One should not approach a layman for replies to specific spiritual inquiries. Such inquiries, when replied with imaginative answers by the teacher, are a program for wasting time. So sometimes our knowledge comes from cinemas, watching telly, and just hearing from someone from here and there. We think that's the right thing. So if you really want to learn something about spirituality, we should approach the right person and hear from the right source, go to the right book and have right teacher. So that's a very important point for all of us, that and we are very, very fortunate to have that connection to the right source. Earlier, we know that we watch we watch some movie and think like this is it. This is the way the whole spirituality sounds like. But now, thank God, we are very, very fortunate that we are connected to the right source of knowledge. Just imagine how fortunate. To get to the right source of knowledge is not a joke. I can feel it when I say those words, that really fortunate to get to the right source. Otherwise, different people say different things and we are lost. We don't know. People don't know the right path. So we're very fortunate to have that connection. And so then he says about Maitreya, he felt so happy that he started answering how Lord Brahma has created. But before the creation, Lord Brahma again underwent for penance, underwent penances for 100 celestial years. Yeah, very interesting. Initially, to have the vision of the Lord, he meditated for 100 years, sitting on the top of the lotus, and then he had the vision. Then Lord gave him blessings for the creation, and then after the Lord had disappeared, then Brahma again engaged in penances for 100 celestial years, and applied himself in devotional service. So Prabhupada says here that that there is no retirement from such service, which is eternal and ever encouraging. So the Brahma engaged himself for the personality of Godhead Narayana, means that he engaged himself in the service of the Lord. That is the highest penance one can perform for any number of years. So we have our great example of Srila Prabhupada. At the age of 69, one would retire, simply sit and do nothing, probably watch telly and do chit chat with others, gossip, something like that. At the age of 69, Prabhupada, just imagine, at the age of 69, he had left Vrindavan and went to West and did the service for the Lord. What is the service? Spreading the mission of the Lord. And that's how we are able to connect to the Supreme. So these devotees, they have no retirement. Prabhupada, within 13, 14 years, within 11 years, he circled the globe 14 times. Imagine that time, and he was at that time only sleeping for 2 hours. So, because we are not at that stage, when we come to that high level, definitely we will be able to do it. But I'm just giving an example how the devotees they just simply enjoy serving. Then Lord Brahma. So after that meditation for 100 celestial years, and he just observed after that. So both the water and the lotus, they were trembling because of the violent wind. The growing also, the water was growing and trembling. So the lotus was trembling and the water was growing and it's all trembling. So there was a lot of violent wind. And simply Lord Brahma, so because he engaged in austerity, devotional service, then he just simply swallowed the water as well as the wind. He drank the wind completely along with the water. So this is a very nice instruction that don't think that Lord Brahma doesn't have any problems. So Prabhupada, this purport is very instructive. Let's read text 6, purport to text 6. Madhakumar Prabhu, can you ask someone or you can read it out?
Yeah, I'll read the purport.
Thank you.
Text 6. Purport: Lord Brahma's struggle for existence is a personal example of the continued fight between the living entities in the material world and the illusory energy called Maya. Beginning from Brahma down to this age, the living entities are struggling with the forces of material nature. By advanced knowledge in science and transcendental realization, one can try to control the material energy, which works against our endeavors. And in the modern age, advanced material scientific knowledge and penances have played very wonderful roles in controlling the powers of the material energy. Such control of the material energy, however, can be most successfully carried out if one is a soul surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and carries out his order in the spirit of loving transcendental service.
So there are miseries in this world, wherever we are, however great we are. Which part of the world doesn't matter, wherever we live, whichever part of the world we live, male, female, whatever, doesn't matter. So there are miseries in this world, and the remedy is devotional service unto the Lord. Prabhupada called it panacea. Panacea means cure for all. There are a number of problems, and the one solution to all these problems is engaging in loving devotional service unto the Lord. So that will actually eradicate the issues here, because Brahma had engaged in devotional service for 100 years. He's matured in his devotion. Then he knew, then he understood how to tackle with that problem. And problems comes, and how we behave in that situation is up to us, isn't it? And so a devotee, he applies this knowledge during the difficult time. Every day he applies, but even during the difficult time, he knows how to behave. So this is a wonderful example for all of us that even Brahma is not free from these miseries. He's the first created being in this universe, and he's one of the best living entities. That's why he's given the post of Brahma. And of course, anybody can apply for that post if they are qualified. And if no person is qualified to the post of Brahma, then Lord will himself occupy that post. So next, move on. So then after that, he drank the water along with the wind, and then he saw that the lotus was spreading all over the universe on which he was sitting. Then Lord Brahma, what he did, he entered into the world of this lotus, and then he separated this lotus, which spread all over the universe into three divisions: lower, middle, and upper. Three divisions, and within the three divisions, then there are 14 planetary systems. So this was done by Lord Brahma, and also in this lotus, all the living entities were also there in their seed form, and all the planets were there in the seedlings form, in the form of seedlings. So Lord Brahma, uses that seedlings and then created 14 divisions. So in 14 planets, sorry, 3 divisions, 14 planets. And it is said that why did he do that? Inhabitation by different types of living entities. All these planets, they are not empty. They are all inhabited by the living entities. Say, for example, that just because I can't live in the water, I can't claim that there are no living entities or are present in the water. Just because I can't live in underground, I can't conclude, I can't say that nothing can live in the ground. When you dig in the garden, you will see earthworms and other living beings. There are living beings in the fire. There are living beings in the air, etc. So all these planets, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvagata. Sarvagata means they are present everywhere. Just because I've not seen it, that I can't conclude that there are no living entities on other planets. They have different bodies. They have different psychophysical nature, just like we can't just eternally live in the water, but fish and aquatics, they have that such type of bodies, and they can live in there. So for the inhabitation of living entities, he had created these 14 planetary system. Okay, so next we'll move on to the next section. So from 11 till 30, text 11 till 30.
Perhaps we could break that into 2 to
Sure,
20.
Sure.
So maybe 11 to 20 if Padma Mataji could read.
Hare Krishna, I'll try.
Hare Krishna.
So,
10
text
onwards.
11.
Was it 11?
Yes, please. Yeah, sorry, I beg your
10,
pardon.
I think.
Did we read 10? No, yes, 10, sorry.
Till 9, yeah.
Okay. Text 10. Vidura inquired from Maitreya, O my Lord, O greatly learned sage, kindly describe eternal time, which is another form of Supreme Lord, the wonderful actor. What are the symptoms of that eternal time? Please describe them to all of us in detail. Text 11. Maitreya said, eternal time is the primeval source of the interactions of the 3 modes of material nature. It is unchangeable and limitless, and it works as an instrument of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pastimes in the material creation. Text 12. This cosmic manifestation is separated from the Supreme Lord as material energy by means of Kala, which is the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Lord. It is situated as the objective manifestation of Lord under the influence of the same material energy of Vishnu. Text 13. This cosmic manifestation is as it is now. It was the same in the past, and it will continue in the same way in the future. Text 14. There are 9 different kinds of creations besides the one which naturally occurs due to the interactions of the modes. There are 3 kinds of annihilations due to eternal time, the material elements, and the quality of one's work. Text 15. Of the 9 creations, the first one is a creation of the Mahatattva, or the sum total of the material ingredients, wherein the modes interact due to the presence of the Supreme Lord. In the second, the false ego is generated, in which the material ingredients, material knowledge, and material activities arise. Text 16. The sense perceptions are created in the third creation, and from these the elements are generated. The fourth creation is the creation of knowledge and the working capacity. Text 17. The fifth creation is that of the controlling deities by the interaction of the mode of goodness, of which the mind is a sum total. The sixth creation is the ignorant darkness of the living entity by which the master acts as a fool. Text 18. All the above are natural creations by the external energy of the Lord. Now hear from me about the creations by Brahma, who is an incarnation of the mode of passion, and who is a matter of creation, has a brain like that of a personality of Godhead. Text 19. The seventh creation is that of immovable entities, which are of 6 kinds. The fruit trees without flowers, trees and plants which exist until the fruit is ripe, creepers, pipe plants, creepers which have no support, and trees with flowers and fruits. Text 20. All the immovable trees and plants seek their subsistence upwards. They are almost unconscious, but have feelings of pain within. They are manifested in varicatedness.
Thank you, Mataji. Meena Mataji could read until 30 now, if you're available. Meena Mataji.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Text 21. The 8th creation is that of the lower species of life, and they are of different varieties, numbering 28. They are all extensively foolish and ignorant. They know their desirables by smell, but are unable to remember anything within the heart. Text 22. Sorry. O purest Vidura, of the lower animals, the cow, goat, buffalo, Krishna's stag, hog, Gavaya animal, deer, lamb, and camel all have 2 hooves. Text 23. The horse, mule, ass, gaura, sharabha, bison, and wild cow all have 1 hoof. Now you may hear from me about the animals who have 5 nails. Text 24. The dog, jackal, tiger, fox, cat, rabbit, sajaru, lion, monkey, elephant, tortoise, alligator, gosapa, etc. all have 5 nails in their claws. They are known as panchanakhas, or animals having 5 nails. Text 25. The heron, vulture, crane, hawk, bhasa, bhaluka, peacock, swan, sarasa, chakravaka, crow, owl, and others are the birds. Text 26. The creation of the human beings who are of one species only and who stock the eatables in the belly is the 9th in the rotation. In the human race, the mode of passion is very prominent. Humans are always busy in the midst of miserable life, but they think themselves happy in all respects. Text 27. O good Vidura, these last 3 creations are the creations of demigods. The 10th creation are Vaikrita creations, which are different from the previously described Prakrita natural creations. The appearance of the Kumaras is both. Text 28 and 29. The creation of the demigods is of 8 varieties. 1. The demigods. 2. The forefathers. 3. The asuras or demons. 4. The Gandharvas and Apsaras or angels. 5. The Yakshas and Rakshasas. 6. The Siddhas, Charanas and Vidyadharas. 7. The Bhutas, Pretas and Pisachas. And 8. The superhuman beings, celestial singers, etc. All are created by Brahma, the creator of the universe. Text 30. Now I shall describe the descendants of the Manus. The creator, Brahma, as the incarnation of the passion mode of the personality of Godhead, creates the universal affairs with unfailing desires in every millennium by the force of the Lord's energy.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So, right. Yeah, so Maitreya had described how he had, Lord Brahma had divided this this world, this universe into 3 divisions, and after that also created 14 planetary system. So then Vidura asks in text 10, he asked about, Vidura asked about eternal time. This time factor is another form of the Supreme Lord. No one can control the time. No one knows where it has begun and when it is going to end. So it is quite interesting, the characteristics of this time factor is mentioned. So Vidura asked, what are the symptoms of this eternal time, etc.? Please describe. So this time factor, as I mentioned, is the representation of the Supreme Lord. Everything is happening because of the time factor. Yes, because time moves on and things will change. I had observed so many changes in my body because of the time factor. So this time factor cannot be controlled by anyone. And Krishna says, "Kalosmi, I am that time. And in due course, I will destroy everything." Nobody can stop. People can argue, but can they stop the old age? Nobody. Can they stop the death? So all these things happen because of the time factor, and even the creation of this universe. Also, initially, this universe is in the not this universe. The total material substance is in the form of Mahat Tattva. We discussed this in the previous chapters. And sorry, this is a little technical, but if you don't understand, don't worry about it. You can take the essence. So it was in the subtle form, in the form of Mahat Tattva. And after the time enters, then the things will start happening. like that. So here it is said that he says it's an impersonal feature of the Lord. This time factor is an impersonal feature of the Lord. Remember that. Okay, so then he says the 6 different primary creation that happened before Brahma, before the creation of this universe. Sorry, before Lord Brahma. So that is called Sarga, that is primary creation. 6 different creations. We had discussed this in the previous chapters, that we have seen how Mahatattva is the sum total of material ingredients was there. Then after that, the false ego was generated. That's the second one. And then in the third, sense perception like smell, vision, taste, etc. were created by the Lord. And after that, the senses were created like eyes, tongue, etc. And in the 5th creation, the controlling deity of each element. We have seen all these 24 material elements were created in the beginning. And each of these elements, they had a controlling deity. Say earth had a controlling deity, water had a controlling deity, like that, smells and eyes, like that. So 24 ingredients. So we have seen in one of the chapters that all the controlling deities of these elements, they offered prayers to the Lord. Oh my Lord, please give us that cohesive energy so that we can come together and form this universe. And it was the Lord's blessings. Because of the Lord's blessings and mercy, they were able to come together and form this universe. So this is how the primary creation took place, and the 6th one is called avidya. So first one is, these are all primary creations. These were done by the Lord before the birth of Lord Brahma, which is called Sarga in English, sorry, in Sanskrit. So first one is Mahatattva. The second creation is the false ego. Third one is creation of sense perceptions. In Sanskrit, it is called tanmatras, such as smell and vision, etc. And the 4th creation is creation of the senses. And 5th creation is creation of controlling deities of these individual elements. And the 6th creation is avidya, ignorance. Let's read a little bit about this ignorance. The 6th creation is ignorant darkness of the living entity by which master acts as fool. So let's read a couple of purports. This is also, the ignorance is also Lord's energy. Let's read that couple of paragraphs.
Manjula Mataji, if you're available.
Yeah, I can read, Prabhu.
Yeah, so maybe you can read from that, the energy onwards.
The energy of the Lord called avidya in the bewildering factor of the conditioned souls. The material nature, it moved.
Yeah,
the material nature is called avidya or ignorance, but to the devotees of the Lord engaged in pure devotional service, this energy becomes vidya or pure knowledge. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The energy of the Lord transforms from Mahamaya to Yogmaya and appears to pure devotees in her real feature. The material nature therefore appears to function in 3 planes: as the creative principle of the material world, as ignorance, and as knowledge. As disclosed in the previous verse, in the 4th creation, the power of knowledge is also created. The conditioned souls are not originally fools, but by the influence of the avidya, function of the material nature, they are made fools, and thus they are unable to utilize knowledge in the proper channel. By the influence of darkness, the conditioned soul forgets his relationship with the Supreme Lord and is overwhelmed by attachment, hatred, pride, ignorance, and false identification, the 5 kinds of illusion that cause material bondage. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much. So the simple solution that solution for this ignorance is to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Because of this avidya or ignorance, we think we are the master, we are the doer, and everything belongs to me, and I'm this body. We have forgotten that we are actually servant of the Lord because of this ignorance. But Krishna says in the Gita, famous verse, does anybody remember 10:11? 10:11. So Teshamevanu partam aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayami atma bhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata. For those who engage in my devotional service, for them, what I do, I will destroy the ignorance with a shining lamp of knowledge. So Krishna says that only Krishna can destroy this ignorance. Nobody can destroy. And this is real Diwali. A real Deepavali is actually destroying the ignorance within us by the shining lamp of knowledge. And that happens when one engaged in the devotional service. You can read actually Bhagavad Gita 10:8 to 10:11. 8, 9, 10, 11. 10th chapter, text 8, text 9, text 10, text 11. Krishna says in the text 10, he says that for those engaged in the devotional service, Krishna gives the right intelligence by which they can come to him. And he personally enters and destroy the darkness of ignorance with a shining lamp of knowledge. So that is the medicine. As we said, there are so many problems, but there's one solution for all these problems. Prabhupada calls it panacea, cure for all. So next, move on. So these are the primary creations by the Lord, Supreme Lord. And then there are other secondary creations described that are done by Brahma. So the first type is that the immovable beings. This is the seventh creation. This is a secondary creation within the universe. So these immovable beings, like fruit trees, etc., they have vertical nourishment, and trees they drink water with their feet, roots. So from nourishment happens from the bottom to the top. So this is called vertical nourishment, one type of living entities. These are immovable living entities, trees, plants, etc. Then there is next type of living entities, which are lower species of life. They have horizontal nourishment. So if you take a dog or a pig, they stand and eat. The digestive system is horizontal. So they get horizontal nourishment. So that's the another type of creation, lower animals. In lower elements, this is how it happens. And the next one is human beings. Human beings, it's in vertical nourishment. We have mouth on the top, and then the entire body gets nourished after feeding the mouth, and then goes to the belly, etc. And then so there is another creation called Devatas, demigods. So Brahma does 4 types of creations here. It is mentioned: immovable living entities, such as trees and plants, etc. Lower living entities, which are various dogs, pigs, cow, horse, goat, buffalo, hog, like that. So jackal, deer, these are lower living entities. And then human species, and then there is a creation of demigods. In demigods, there are 8 different types were given. You can see there are different living beings. 4 padas are there, Gandharvas are there, Yakshas, Siddhas, Charanas, like that. So many varieties of Devatas are there. And then and Lord, Vidura, Maitreya says then he's going to move and describe about the Manus that we will discuss in the next chapter. But before that, let me just quickly summarize today's chapter. The chapter we discussed is 10th chapter from 3rd canto, entitled Divisions of the Creations. So this is a continuation from the previous chapter, where Lord Brahma had the vision of the Lord Mahavishnu, and then Lord Brahma offered prayers, wonderful prayers, in glorification of Lord Vishnu. And Lord Brahma asked for the blessings and mercy so that he can engage in the service of the Lord, which is creation, secondary creation within this universe. And so then question comes, how did Lord Brahma create? So Maitreya then described that so before creation of the various planetary system, various living entities within the universe, Brahma underwent penance for 100 celestial years. And then he saw that the water was growing, and the lotus was trembling, violent wind was blowing everywhere. So because of his matured devotion, he was able to deal with that problem. We will be only able to deal with the problems when we are matured in our devotion. Problems come, problems are there everywhere. And he drank the water, he drank the wind, and then he saw that lotus was growing all over the universe. And Lord Brahma entered into the world of that lotus, and he initially divided that lotus into 3 portions, 3 divisions: lower, middle, and upper. And then again 14 planets in all of them, altogether 14 planetary systems. And these living entities are there in every planet, not only on the earthly planet, but all the planets are occupied by living entities. They have different psychophysical nature. Just like we can't live in the water, aquatic can live. So they have a different body, different physical nature, psychophysical nature. And so then Vidura asks about the time. So Maitreya describes the characteristics of the time. Time is the representation of the Supreme Lord. Because of the time, things happen. It's an impersonal feature of the Lord. And nobody can control this time. And then he described the creation, 6 primary creations done by the Supreme Lord Mahavishnu, and then 4 secondary creations done by Lord Brahma. So that is the summary of the chapter, and then in the next chapter we will see further discussions. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I just have one question, please.
Sure. I'll try to
Prabhuji,
answer if I
in the
can.
translation of text 20,
Text?
it says, all immovable trees and plants seek their substance upwards. They're almost conscious, but have feelings of pain within.
Yes.
How does that happen, Prabhuji?
Because they are living entities, no? Yeah, all the living entities, even trees, they have feelings of pain.
Okay.
Because it's see, living entity, wherever there is life, there is presence of soul, right? You understand?
Yes.
Wherever there is life, there is presence of soul, Atma. And depending on their body, they have consciousness. Yes, isn't it? So, and here in this upward nourishment, the trees and the plants, they too have the feelings. They have consciousness to a lesser degree. They have pain to a lesser degree.
So if we cut down a tree, Prabhuji, then we are doing something wrong.
That is true, not unnecessary. We should not cut and do any type of harm to any of the living entities. So say, for example, for prasadam, you have to use vegetables. You have to cut the vegetables. You have to pluck the leaves or fruits and vegetables. But the thing is that then you have to offer that to the Lord. If you eat without offering to the Lord, we incur sins.
That makes sense, Prabhuji. That makes sense now.
Yes, so depending on the type of body, they will have the degree of pain and consciousness varies. But Krishna, let me just finish. Krishna says that patram pushpam palam thoyam.
Yeah.
So Krishna says that you can eat these vegetables, but the main thing is that you have to offer it to Krishna before you accept it, because jivo jivasya jivanam means one living entity has to depend on other living entity for the sustenance. That is the nature. That is the nature. Okay, next one. Sorry, somebody was.
Also, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Just to add another.
Yeah.
313 also, Bhagavad Gita 313.
Yeah.
Yagnishishta Shana Shanto Muchante Sarva Kilbisha, in which Krishna is saying that if you don't offer and eat without offering, you're incurring sin.
You're a thief.
So that takes care of the karmic action that we incur by doing unintentional harm to plants and the species for our sustenance.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
And this is the simplest form of devotion anybody can do, because we have to eat certain number of times every day. And the best way we can perform devotion is that we offer our food to the Lord, then that becomes prasadam. And if we eat prasadam, we are doing devotional service. So prasadam is simply you take some bhoga, bhoga which is not offered to the Lord.
Yeah.
So you take food, then you offer it to the Lord nicely. Thank you, Lord, and please accept these food items. And then you take the remnants. That is devotional service, simplest form of devotional service that anybody can do. When one does that, actually the thinking changes. Yeah, just by eating prasadam, one develops a finer brain tissues. Then he can understand God. Then he can know what is right, what is wrong. So for some people, if you talk about God, they can't digest, they can't understand it all, because they don't have, like according to Bhagavatam, they don't have those finer tissues. Sorry. Okay.
Thank you,
Anything
Prabhuji.
else?
Thank you.
Haribol?
Prabhu, can I ask a question? I've got two.
Sure.
Prabhu, you said that when the creation was done, Brahma initially he meditated for 100 celestial years and saw Mahavishnu, and then he sang his glories, and he was given the blessing to create the Visarga. Now, why did he have to do another 100 years of celestial devotionals, this thing after that again, before he started the creation? What was the reason? Because he had already got the blessings, he had already got the everything. So what's the explanation for that, please?
Yeah, that's a good question. But here, if you see here, where is that text 4, I guess? As advised by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it says, Brahma thus engaged in himself in penances for 100 years, 100 celestial years, as advised by the Lord. So that was the instruction of the Lord.
All right. Okay. So that's the Lord's instruction he did.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Blessing means we have to work also. There are two parts, endeavor and mercy. Endeavor and mercy. And we have to endeavor. Nothing just happens automatically. We have to endeavor from our side. So he was advised by the Lord before the creation, because creation is such a huge task. And you require certain skills, certain talents, and that was the Lord's advice.
All right. Okay. And the other one, Prabhu, was that it's interesting. You may, when you read in this, that the second part of the creation was the false ego, which we all have, that we lord it over the material nature. We think we are doing it. And in the last one, he created the ignorance. So between all that, he started with false ego, and then he ends with ignorance. So both, it's like a sandwich, isn't it? So we are sandwiched between the two, and everything else is in between it. That's very interesting. I thought it was Lord's creation is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing. It is also bewildering, but the remedy is given. The remedy to come out of all these problems is devotional service. When we do the devotional service, Lord will destroy this ignorance with the shining lamp of knowledge. When that real knowledge comes. So, as I said many times during my talk, that it is panacea. This devotional service is panacea. It starts with hearing about the Lord. Simply hear about the Lord. When we hear, that's how we receive the knowledge. If we don't hear from the right source, again, this is important. Hear from the right source. If you hear from the wrong source, you can get the wrong end of the stick. Hear from the right source. So the devotional service starts from hearing about the Lord from the right source, and then that way we will regain our identity and able to reconnect to the Supreme Lord.
Yes,
thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful session. We just wanted to take a quick minute to welcome Kamal Ranehaji. He's joining us for the first time. Kamal Ranehaji is a very well-known figure amongst the Hindus in the UK. He's closely associated with the Seva, and he does a lot for the welfare and well-being of the Hindu community in the UK. He's a long-standing supporter for ISKCON Manchester. And I'm not sure if a lot of you know, he's a Sanskrit and a yoga teacher himself. And also very recently, he's now got the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're very happy to have you with us, Kamalji. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Kamal Prabhu. I had good fortune of associating with on several occasions. Very gentle, very kind-hearted person, always working for the welfare of others. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for joining our Sangha. Really appreciate it.
And today's all classes about coming.
Hare Krishna.
Just to close the session, quick two things. Yes, we're in the middle of pushing forward, distributing calendars. Again, community is very actively supporting us with that. We still have a good number of calendars available. And December is the month where we celebrate the appearance of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita was spoken in the month of December. So towards the end, we'll be celebrating Gita Jayanti. And in the run-up to Gita Jayanti, we are putting special efforts in distributing Bhagavad Gita. So if you want to consider gifts for friends and families, please consider Bhagavad Gita. These are eternal, permanent gifts that you could make to your friends and family. And we have, like I mentioned previously, apart from English, we have 10 other regional Indian languages. So let language not be a barrier. If you're thinking of giving wonderful transcendental gifts, please consider the calendar or the Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.